Hey guys, I'm Unbound Sage, and today I'd like to talk about some new kit changes to heroes we know and love. We have Raw, Drac, and Loki kit updates. There will be timestamps in the description, so if you care about a particular one or like to jump around a little bit, go ahead and use those. And let's get into the first person. So I'd like to start with Raw's cores first. I think this is really important to understand his entire kit. And so what we see here is this is a decent hit that has a 100% chance when booked to put Blaze 3 on the target for each of the targets for 3 turns. I actually missed that in the initial. That is actually how it was in alpha. I did not know that. It's very good. And if it defeats an enemy, decrease the cooldown by 1 turn. This is the new part of it. It's very nice because this is a critical part of his kit. And so when you can get it back somehow, that's a really big deal. So I think that's a huge change for Raw. I think it's going to turn them, when you pick off enemies with this, it's going to come back faster, and you need these blazes for Raw to work. Also, because whenever you have an accuracy-based champion, you always lose damage. So it spots you some of the damage you're losing. It spots you 15 critical damage when you place your blazes. It rewards you for building accuracy on Raw. This is not enough reward. It's a little bit, right? It's nice, but it's really cool to see more stuff built into the kit to really help you feel good about building accuracy. You want to hit your blazes, and you want Raw to put the blazes on. Now, let's talk about the basic. So we see the basic here. Has a 100% chance to increase the duration of a blaze. This is awesome. And if we're critical, we're activating blaze. Once again, really rewarding you for building the accuracy. Blazes do 4% of the max HP. Very good, right? Acid does 5%. This does 4% to everybody. The reason we didn't see a lot in the alpha is because Fafnir, Blaze is bad against Fafnir. It gives him Divinity, I believe it was. So, but in most content, Blaze is going to be pretty nice, especially for this tower content, like the Tower of Strife. If you're going in the Tower of Chaos with Raw, he's gonna be pretty good, right? Especially if these guys get more and more tanky. Think of this is basically a Guan Yu hit if you have Blaze on, right? And we love Guan Yu. So it's just 4% instead of 5% on a much better character. So, and it's a whole enemy. So let's go ahead and look at the passive next, because I think it goes hand in hand with the. So the passive says when Blaze on any ally or enemy activates, expires, or removed, the damage of the next ultimate is increased by 5%. Once again, really encouraging these blazes. It also has a 50% chance to activate blaze on any attack. This is the A5, right? So the out of the box, you get the first sentence, and then the A5 gives you the second sentence. Spooky. What you can do with this is we'll go to this, but keep this in mind, right? When you're activating the blazes, your ultimate's getting stronger. This also helps spot you the damage you're losing by building accuracy. I really like they're doing this. They want Raw to be a damage dealer that wants to build accuracy, and if you play the game with the accuracy, you get rewarded with making up the damage. So I really like that design. Now the ultimate is solar convergence. We have a decently high, I would say, like 1400 is relatively high, I would say, or like mid. Decent hit, right? It's a 3-hitter. Each hit has a chance to put defense down and vulnerable. This is new. Very big for 2 turns, and it has one of the best divinity generators I have ever seen. 20% when enemies are damaged by blaze. If this is a classic 4-on-4, that's 80 every time an opponent takes a turn, because it's going to hit everybody, if I'm reading this correctly. So we're talking somewhere in the vein of, and Raw smacks them as well. So just from this divinity generator alone, we're talking 80 times 5, which is 400. So this is like a 3-turn, maybe even like a 2-turn cooldown with enough initiative. This is good. And it really rewards you if you build the blaze. Hey, they throw you some bones here. And this line of text is cool, right? I don't know how relevant this will be. This is the A3 on Raw, I believe, as this line of text. We'll get to it when we get to it. But yeah, I love this a lot. And with the passive charging this ultimate, there's kind of two ways you can play this. You can kind of just cycle through the ultimate a lot, or you could build up your passive on the first two waves and keep this ultimate like 50 to 70% more damage if this is like a long first two waves, and then nuke the boss or nuke the third wave. I really like Raw. This is really good, especially in a boss fight. We know there's waves beforehand. I think this guy's going to be your premier wave clearer. Like you kind of clear the waves with just the raw power, and then you go to the boss. He gives you defense down, vulnerable, puts blazes on the boss doing max HP. Can't ask for a whole lot more to have damage dealer, honestly. So we'll go into some other stuff here. This is the booking you can see. This is how we get the 100% with the books. Curious, we only get 20% damage though. And sometimes people get 30. So Raw's not getting a ton of damage from books, but still a good amount. Same thing here, right? 100% chance. Do note, however, with this 35% chance with 3 attacks, it's only about a 70% chance to hit the defense down and vulnerable. So, just be aware of that. This is not guaranteed, but, it's icing on the cake, honestly. This is very nice. So let's talk about the Ascensions a little bit. Ascensions are pretty powerful here. You can see my head's blocking when this last one is 20% or 20 more or 200 more divinity. These used to be, the first used to be 5% more attack, and then these were 5% more HP. Now we're getting 9% of all of our primary stats for the first 3. This is really scary, guys. We do note, however, that we noticed the base stats of heroes were lower than they used to be. We noticed that in one of the videos. So they probably just moved some of the base power to the Ascension, which I like. Also we're getting our passive pretty early. Raw's passive isn't super important, but I mean, it's nice, right? It makes the damage go up, and you're going to want it anyway. Just hit the weapon on them, of course. We give us the accuracy a little bit and give us some crit damage. Yeah, this is a great Ascension. 100% great. I love this. I'm totally taking him to at least 5 pretty safely. And if you get to 6, this actually makes a difference. This is probably a first cycle turn 2 ultimate with enough initiative if you hit your blaze and go before the enemy. So keep that in mind. Very good. Then we go through the Awaken. Awaken 1, for those of you who don't know, Awaken 1, 3, and 5 will give us effects on our abilities, and 2 and 4 give us special effects now. And we get to see what 4 is now. So 1 gives us that crit damage boost, right? Really helps us there. 2 is going to give us Ignore Defense, Ignore Resistance, Outgoing Damage Modifier. That's pretty good. I don't know if these are flat. I don't know if this is percentage or flat or what, but it has to be 20% and 30% here. And then maybe this is 10% resistance. A2 is kind of big, honestly. A2 is kind of big. This is whatever. I think the A3 situationally okay. I mean, if there are enemies, we saw the one fight with the hag that has the totems. If those totems kind of respawn or we cycle through them a lot, increasing blazes could be relevant. But honestly, with the core cycling back so much and being a 3-turn burn, and we kind of we're replacing burns on the basic. I don't know how relevant this is, but whatever, we'll take it. So we see here, Awaken 4, we have Armor Attunement, Stat Multiplier. So we know the attunement system. We don't know a whole lot about it yet, but maybe 50% more stats from attunement, okay? 30% more stats from the primary armor is kind of big, right? These armors were giving, 50% attack? That's up to 65? Okay. Gaming. I like that, right? If you're going to need copies of legendaries, man. I wonder if this is the same multipliers on rares. So if that's the case, it might make it so an A4 rare might have the same stats as a geared legendary, right? Because isn't the deficit usually about 30%? Might make up some of the difference, right? Maybe not exactly, but that's interesting. Like I said, I wonder if this is the same. So keep an eye out for this. A4 is big numbers here. The last stat increase. So for the A5, we see there is a chance to activate Blaze in the attack. This is most likely not per hit, but if it is per hit, man, the ultimate does 3 hits to everybody. If you core into ultimate, you have a chance to proc Blaze somewhere in the vein of what is that? 4 times 3, 12 times. 12 times 4 is like 48% of their max HP to everybody. Yeah, that hurts, right? Core into ultimate. If you get super lucky with the 12% chance. I don't think it is. I think it is not base per hit. But cool. Yeah, Raw's cool. Moving on to the next one. We have Loki, everyone's favorite trickster. I'm sorry if I sound a bit coarse, by the way. I'm still sick, and I'm going to suck on a throat lozenge while I record this. Back to the kit. We have the A1 100% chance to place Charm on the target. Now, Charm says it's up on the screen here, that if the hero that places Charmed is attacked, the Charmed hero will receive the attack instead. I did not use Charm at all during the alpha. I don't know if this works on AoEs. I don't know if it has to be a target attack or not. I imagine if it's an AoE, they'll take the hit for you. It's a good defensive ability. I'm a pretty big fan of this. The accuracy is also relevant. Unlike Raw, his attack multiplier is quite low, and you're probably not building crit. So this actually will add a decent amount of damage to this attack. Next up is Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver places sleep on all enemies for 1 turn. That's basically all it does. Everything else is buyout text. You can go ahead and read it if you want to, but it really just places sleep for 1 turn. I think this should play sleep for 2 turns, because if you don't know what sleep does, I'll let the player play a little bit. They'll click on it for you. It's a CC that when they take attack, they lose a stack of it. And I think the most way this will be used is actually as a PvP unit, where you place the sleep and then just take the 30% more attack, like more damage. So I could see a speed lead going into a defense down champion, going into a sleep, and then going into a nuker. I don't think you're ever going to use a CC. And I don't think 30% more damage on the next attack someone else does kind of fits for, you know, how powerful Loki should be. I think it should be 2 turns, or it should do something else. Because the rest of this text is really just buyout. It doesn't actually, and most of the time it won't do anything. Rarely are people going to be under sleep on a 3-turn cooldown, right? When it's only 1 turn. You're probably not going to bring another sleeper into your team. Loki's probably here for a reason. You don't want to use 2 team slots for the same thing. And you really don't want people resisting your sleep anyway. So it's a bit awkward. So I think the sleep should be a 2-turn cooldown, considering that it gets lost when attacked. It's not like a normal CC. And we do see people like Mordred in the game. He might get changed, but it is an epic with a 2-turn CC that is much stronger than sleep. So that's something I would change here. But either way, this seems okay. It seems definitely usable. So we have the ultimate here, a divinity cost of 1100. This is like a middle, kind of middling divinity cost. 8% chance to put corrupt on everyone for 2 turns. Cool. AoE corrupt? Yeah, sign me up. Definitely a PvP unit, right? You want to steal these buffs. Then place Vanish and Reflect. So it can't be targeted, and then reflects the next debuffs he receives. And when under Vanish, steal a random buff or extend a random debuff. Maybe this can be engineered somehow. I imagine this is on all attacks, not just the ultimate. But maybe if he has someone vanish himself, maybe. Who knows? And then gains divinity while affecting damage with people under sleep. You don't really want Loki to be the one popping your sleep debuff. So this probably is just an empty line of text. Honestly, he probably doesn't have a divinity generator, which means it's going to be hard to climb to this. Unlike Raw, where Raw's looking at a 3-turn. I mean, this is looking like a 4 to 5 turn, maybe 6. Honestly, like divinity generation is pretty important. And if you want to get to like a 3-turn-ish, you're definitely going to have to, and initiative is going to have to be something you prioritize if you care about this ultimate. So now we get to the passive part of Loki. When sleep expires or is removed from the enemy. So this is also probably when you pop it. Increase the turn meter by 20% and place speed down 2 on the target for 1 turn. It's good. Very good. This is the A5, I believe. But, I mean, we talked about that arena team, right? So Loki's putting on the sleep after the defense down. Your nuker's going to hit them. He's going to take away their turn meter. And he's also going to give them a speed down 2. You might even lap them again. But worst case scenario, if this sleep naturally expires, the turn meter won't matter because it'll be their turn. They'll be at 0 turn meter. But the speed down 2 when they're fresh turn is kind of a big deal. This is really good. Very, very good. And I could see if it, I mean, if it expires to increase their turn meter by 10, I don't think people are going to be using this in print, but Loki very much likes this add-on. So let's go ahead and move to Ascension for Loki. We see the same thing for Loki here, kind of across the board, this 9%. So I'm very interested in this. So yeah, seems good. Nice bit of accuracy here. A little bit of speed helps, and then Divinity 200 here. This will help with the first cast, right? So yeah, I think all in all, I'm very happy with the Ascensions for this character as well. I think especially getting your Ascension 5 stars is pretty important, and then such a star on Loki probably doesn't matter as much. It might not make a difference in the turn you get it. I don't know how urgently you need it, but you know, it's something I think that can wait a little bit, but then there might be teams that need it too. So that's something I like about this Ascension as well, is if like you don't need the ultimate right away, just gonna nuke the last wave. You don't need to get Ascension 6. Cool stuff. Now we're on to the booking, what we see here. So you see 100% chance to place Charm, kind of as expected. We see the cooldown, right? This is a 3-turn cooldown. I originally thought this was a 5-turn cooldown. I thought this would be absolutely awful. I still think this should be a 2-turn sleep, though. Really, the rest of this text isn't relevant. And if you have a legendary that says their main ability is put someone to sleep for 1 turn, I'm kind of underwhelmed, honestly. And then this makes a 100% chance and lowers the divinity cost. Nice. Cool. Then the ultimate, whatever. And then we'll get to the Ascensions. So Ascension Awakening 1 is the buyout for missing your sleep. Maybe there's a boss that has minions. Like I think of the Daimyo fight where you probably can't put the boss to sleep, but you put his minions to sleep, and it'll give you back 20% of your turn meter. That's kind of relevant, but in the PvP scenarios that we think of, you really don't want to trigger this, right? You want to just hit your sleep. So kind of middling, but maybe for bosses or something, this is relevant. We see the Awakening 2. We see Ignore Resistance, outgoing turn meter multiplier, and incoming damage. This may apply to his passive. Keep this in mind. So his passive is actually a 24% turn meter reduction if this works the way I think it does. Also, just taking 20% less damage and ignoring 20% of resistance. Good. We don't know exactly how these works. We don't know which ones are flat and which ones are percentage, but I imagine these ones are all percentage. So yeah, I think A2 is very, very good on Loki. Awakening 3 is phenomenal. This speed down makes it so when you use him as a actual CC champion and not a damage increaser, speed down 2 is good, man. And maybe this is why maybe this is why it doesn't have a 2-turn sleep. I want to be a 2-turn cooldown, but this is very, very good. Awakening 3 is probably where you want to hit for sure if you're putting Loki. Obviously, we saw the stat boost on Awaken 4 on Raw, and it seems to be the same thing as well. This is the stats are stats, man. And then last we have the if you're in advantage, steal a buff or extend a debuff. I'm sure you can engineer something here, but I think this is largely relevant. I think for most characters, the stat gear boost is enough to seek the Ascension 4 if you use them a lot. But for Loki specifically, the ability ones, I think only the third one is universally relevant. I think the other two are a little bit more niche. So yeah. And with that, we'll go into the last guy. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video so far, make sure you like and subscribe as we cover our last Transylvania boy himself, Dracula. We see here he's still attacking twice. Each hit is giving a bleed stack to each enemy. This is the Awaken 1. Very, very good. The previous Awaken 1 was give bleed to the target and then give bleed to a random person. This is better. Very, very good. And he's still healing with people under bleed. Yeah, I mean, Drax A1 is still Drax A1, and it's even better than it was before. Ascendant 1 is very good on Dracula. This is new. The old core used to be turn all your debuffs into bleeds and give Reflect and Mend to your team. I liked it a lot, man. I like full debuff removal. I'm a pretty big fan, but it seems like instead we're going with the more offensively minded, put bleeds on everyone, remove a buff. If buff's removed, put 3 bleeds instead, and gain an extra turn. I mean, you're looking at turn 1, 5 stacks of bleed on the entire enemy team. That's really good. You can't deny that's really good. I'll miss it. I'll miss the old core. I think now the best AoE debuff removal is actually Ankh A5 out of the alpha champions. I imagine that we'll see some more in the early access, but what we know about it's Ankh, I think, is going to be our premier debuff removal. But Dracula will be missed. I'll miss your core, buddy. But the extra turn, I'll take the change. If you ask me which one I want, the extra turn makes all the difference here. Now, we're going to get into it a little bit here. We talked about previously how when you build accuracy, you lose damage. For Dracula, it's doubly so because his debuff he uses wants to stack. So you really want a lot of speed on Dracula. For Raw, you probably just want enough speed to keep up with the wave. Make sure you go first. If they have 160, you want 161, that kind of thing, right? For Drac here, you want like 250 speed if you can get it with a ton of accuracy. You're going to have a hard time finding the damage numbers for this, right? You kind of have the accuracy speed Dracula, which just piles on bleeds. And when you build them that fast and that accurate with enough HP to survive, the multipliers just aren't here to make it super scary. And you really don't want to lose your bleeds, right? And it's a pretty high divinity cost as well, with a divinity generator that is not Raw's, man. Like, this is 120 per turn cycle. Like, you're not getting this ultimate anytime soon. This is like an 7 to 10 turn ultimate as we are here. He does have divinity generation in his A5, but we're not A5, man, right? So, also, you see this line of text here. He destroys enemy HP. I dislike this. We'll get to this when we talk about the Ascension 3 and what this should be, in my opinion. But let's go ahead and push on to the passive. The passive is Symphony of the Night. At the start of the enemy's turn, if they're under bleed, increase this damage hero's next attack by 10%. And then this is the A5 line. If it's the ally's turn, steal 5% of their current HP and increase this hero divinity by 2%. That's really good. The second line is very good. I must say, however, I do not like the actual passive. It is so bad. It is actually so bad. Like, why am I getting a conditional image up on a hero that I'm stacking bleeds with? Why is that conditional attack up 10% when my heroes have conditional ones that give me 20%? Guan Yu does 20% extra damage to people under drain. And this can only trigger once per turn cycle. So if I want to trigger this with my ultimate, I cannot use my basic first to put more bleeds on, because it will consume the 10% damage on that target. Because it checks the start of the enemy's turn. Man, it's kind of bad. And like, for a legendary, why is it not 20%? Why is it not the standard for damage? Zeus gives 40% damage to his entire team. Now, not everyone can be Zeus, but when you look at yourself getting 10% damage per turn cycle, especially if you're lapping, which is something you're going to want to do with Dracula, like, it's so bad. It's actually really, really bad. Might as well not be here. Honestly, this is a do nothing. Especially most of the time, you're not going to build your Dracula with damage. You're going to build enough HP to survive. The A1s will do okay damage, but you're not going to have enough room to build the crit damage and crit rate. So we see 20% more damage on the ultimate, or on the basic. That's cool. Blood Mist obviously doesn't have damage, so it just has cooldown. And then we see 30% more damage on this ultimate. This ultimate does a lot of damage, by the way, guys. And we're going to get to to in the essentials, we'll talk about how we can use this ultimate. So here we see the same stuff again. We see the initial divinity as well down here. So good stats, right? Especially, I think this initiative I'd rather see to be speed. But you know, despite that, it's pretty good, right? I really like the Ascension. I think I talked about it again with Raw. And then we'll go to the A's, and I'm going to talk about these because I really have strong thoughts about these. A1's great. A1's one of the best A1s in the game, man. Like, this is, your Dracula goes from an okay bleed setter to a god tier bleed setter with this. It cannot be understated how good this is. We know that we'll see the Brawler one now. Damage going out, healing getting, this is good too, if it counts for his own healing. And then ignoring resistance is very good. Drac uses all of these. He's a very big fan of all of these. And they have pretty good multipliers as well. We'll come back to the A3. I'll talk about this. I don't like the A3 at all. I think this is very, very bad. We'll get to the gear sets, obviously good. And then I want to talk about a way you could build Dracula with this here. When you have a piece of gear, each piece of gear has 5 stats. That dictates, honestly, how many stats you can focus on in a build. If you consider that you will need for Dracula speed, accuracy, HP, that's 3. And if you care about the ultimate, initiative, crit damage, crit rate is 6. You can't build 6 stats. This takes away the need for initiative by giving you divinity on your other people's turns. If they are sufficiently quick, this is actually really good. This is 40 divinity per each of your person's turns. If you have really good gear, you could build crit damage, crit rate on the Dracula. That makes your ultimate very scary. A very scary win condition for a team that would normally be a bleeder, like a PvP comp, if you will. But that's not going to happen until super late game, unless you're willing to give up speed, which then you have a very slow Dracula, which this stealing health could keep him alive, perhaps. But I'm not optimistic of that. The more I think about it, the more I don't think you can be slow. I think you need to be fast and stack the bleeds on a really fast team, and then absolutely nuke with the ultimate. And with the Awakened 5, it could get rid of the need for initiative. So if you have Giga Busted gear, there's 5 sets to focus on. Each piece of gear gets 5 pieces of stats. That means you can focus on all of them. Very good. Let's go back to the A3 here. This A3 is only relevant if you build the big damage Dracula. And I don't think this matters at all. Like, even if you do. I understand why this is here. They want Dracula to win these longer fights by destroying their HP. I have 2 reconciliations for this. One, just have him destroy 1% per each bleed stack removed so that your speed, accuracy, early game Dracula is still benefiting from this. Because, and all this is really doing is reducing your bleed damage anyway, but if you make it worth my while, I care all of a sudden, right? I would actually recommend people not to A3 your Dracula until you have the A4, honestly. Like, the A3 is actively hurting your Dracula. It's not a win condition, and you're just losing a little bit of bleed damage for not a lot of return. Or, crazy thought, A3 should just detonate the bleeds. Why are we not detonating bleeds? This isn't raid. This isn't, like, you think of poison exploding, doing, like, one-shotting a boss. That's not how bleeds work in this game. You only can do a max of 10% max HP with a bleed stack. So, like, I heard some people be like, that's way too strong. Most Draculas, their ultimate is going to do no damage. It's okay if you kind of make it worth their while and just pop the bleeds instead. And you know, I have my core up. I'm gonna all get a pop of the bleeds, put 5 bleeds back on the target. I might ult then, or I might not feel bad having my Drac on auto and then ultimate, because at the end of the day, people want to auto and they're not going to use Dracula because you unless we have AI control, which they said that we would, right? But so if we can't, I guess I'm stuck in the alpha mindset, but if we can't turn off the ultimate, Drac will not be used in auto. So, but I imagine we'll have AI of some kind. And if not, but if we don't, maybe I'm just stuck in the alpha mindset, but we won't be using Drac in auto teams because his ultimate's bad. So make it worth my while. Make me care about moving my stacks. And then the damage Drac build, like 10% more HP, you're probably killing them anyway. And if you give them a 10% HP damage, to drop in the bucket how much damage the ult's actually doing. And with that, we got through all 3 of them. Thank you for suffering with me through my cold. I'm sure I sounded weird the entire time. If you guys enjoyed the content, make sure you guys subscribe. Comment what you think below. I have some pretty strong feelings about Dracula in particular. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Take care. And as always, see you later. Bye.